Hey everybody, this is the Sliders Review, and I'm here today to talk to you about a show that took the world by storm in 2018 on Netflix, and wherever you live in the European country, that show, that comedy, that sitcom, that black comedy is Dairy Girls. Dairy Girls, my God, is hilarious. I thought I knew comedy before I watched this show. Because I watched a lot of comedy in my time, and I'm just like, I've watched some like funny stuff, some family stuff, some personal comedy show. I've seen some dark comedy, some crude humor, some rude humor. My God, this is on the level of Cartoon Network. Like, think if South Park was live action mixed with a little, not so much Family Guy, but probably like Married with Children, and you'll probably get this show. And the thing about shows that are on Comedy Central, like South Park, is like they're crude and rude for shock value, and and to like make you laugh, and that's how this show is. But it does it in such a subtle way that you're shocked, and then you're shocked because of the people in this show, because they're supposed to be like teenagers, and just like South Park, it's shocking because they're kids. This show, my God, for 6 episodes, it was great. After those 6 episodes, I wanted more. I wanted more. I wanted more. But sadly, that is the formula for European shows. I do believe this might have been my first Irish show I ever watched. I know I watched Catastrophe, but that's like a blend of Irish, England, and American. So it doesn't really count. As for Drifters, I think that's British. I had to relook that back up. And as for Fleabag, I think she's British too. So this might have been the first, Irish comedy I ever saw. And that's one thing I really love about Netflix. It really gave me insight into other countries and how they do their shows, how they do comedy, crime dramas, action, like drama, you name it. And like, my God, I understand why people are obsessed with their shows. Like, it really gives you a new like taste in your mouth when the old taste is getting stale from the stuff you constantly see over and over, being saturated and stuff. Like, I'm so sick and tired of reality TV. It needs to go away. A lot of comedy shows in America where they're funny at first, but as they drag on and on to like 10 seasons, they lose their luster. And a lot of these shows are very similar to one another. And once they see one formula that works, like them comedy documentary type stuff, then they roll with that, and then everybody does it. And then every once in a while, you get a great show like Superstore, and it's kind of like, it resets your mind. But then, my God, you go to these other countries and you watch their shows, and it's just like, man, they have no filter, they have no shame. And that's how this show is. Now, I've already reviewed episode 1 and episode 3 of season 1. This is going to be the overall review. So I'm not going to go into much detail about those 2 episodes, but I'll go a little bit into the other ones and explain the characters a little bit more. Derry Girls is created by Lisa McGee, and it takes place in Derry, Ireland. Some people call it Derry, England, but it's Ireland and stuff. And it takes place towards the late 1990s. It was during a time when Ireland was constantly under attack by, like, I guess themselves, something called the Troubles. It's where there was lots of street riots and people was just attacking one another, and so the military was a constant presence throughout the streets. And so, like, you will always see like these military officers and checkpoints armed with like huge rifles and stuff like that. I believe it lasted for about 3 decades, like back in the 70s. It started like in the 70s and stuff. And that's a long time, from the 70s to the 90s. And it ended sometime in the late 90s. I never knew about this. I've never even heard of this. If it wasn't for this show, I would have never known this. It really makes you think, Now, like I said before, this show is an Irish show and it's only 6 episodes per season. There are currently only 2 seasons, and you can find it on Netflix. There was supposed to be a third season, and supposedly there still is, but when the pandemic hit back in 2000 and towards the end of 2019 and early 2000s, it had to put it on hiatus. Now, some of the other cast members have found work doing other stuff. The girl who plays Claire, she's on Bridgerton. The actress who plays Erin, she is supposed to be in the DCEU Flashpoint movie. I have no idea who she's playing, but that's freaking awesome. But yeah, it did put things on a hold, but somebody did say that season 3 is technically being filmed and I think it's almost done and it's supposed to come out sometime next year. Thank God. Thank God. I need this show in my life, and I never need to get canceled. Because there are rumors that it might get canceled after a third season. This is before the pandemic hit. Because the thing about a lot of like European shows, they don't last long. They're only like a few episodes and a few seasons, and then they're like done, you know. But this is a sitcom, a dark comedy, a crude humor comedy, a mature comedy. And so it's about like 20 to 30 minutes long. The show follows a group of 5 misunderstood misfits. They mean well, probably stuff from Michelle. They mean well, but it's just like there's always something. They always find themselves in trouble because they're always trying to like cheat the system or make things easier for them. And also there's a lot of stuff that always happens to these characters. Like people always dumping on them. No matter who they interact with, people just don't like these characters. Now these characters are a bit judgmental and stuff. So that's part of the reason why. But a lot of the problems that happen to them is caused by like themselves. But for the most part, they do mean well. Except for Michelle. Well, yeah, she means well at times too. But she's just the bad girl of the group. But it's just like, yeah, they are misfits and everything. But, you know, it's just kind of like, it's one of those type of characters, when you watch a show, it's kind of like, man, I wish these characters were real and I wish I was friends with them. It's like that type of show, you know? Now, the main character and leader of the group is Erin. She is a girl who lives with her parents, her mom, Mary, her dad, Jerry, her grandpa, Joe, her little baby sister, her cousin Ola, and Ola's mom. I forgot Ola's mom's name. And so they live in like somewhat of a big, medium-sized house. They have a big family. Now they're not rich by no means. They're like lower class. They manage that they could be like tiny bit of middle class, but for the most part they're like lower class and stuff. And so it's like, you know, they're just going through the motions. And because she's 16 years old. And the thing about Erin is she's a romantic. She exaggerates. People always like treating her like badly and stuff, or they're just like not respecting her, and she wants to be respected. And she is totally boy crazy and stuff. And she always feels as though she's right. And like even when she's talking to people from another country, like she talked to this one girl from the Ukraine, and the girl from the Ukraine is all like, yes, we have TV in our country, we watch the news. And Erin's just like, people in the Ukraine don't have TVs, y'all don't watch the news. And it's just like, how are you gonna tell that girl that? And then it gets even worse because let's see, this was episode 4, I believe. And so it gets worse because with the Ukraine girl, Erin assumes she's a prostitute because she sees condoms in her book bag. And because a bunch of Ukraine guys were giving her a bunch of money and she didn't understand why. So then she finds out that the Ukraine girl has like a crush on James. I'll get into James a little bit later. And then so Erin was trying her best to like prevent this from happening. And because James is all like, whatever, I want to get laid. And so like with the Ukraine girl, she just outs this girl in front of everybody at a party talking about, I know you're a prostitute and this and that, and all these guys giving you money. And then the Ukraine girl is just like, her name's Katia, and Katia is all like, I like James, I want to bang James, and that's why I have the condoms. As for being a prostitute, I am not a prostitute. The reason why them guys are giving me money is because there is a party at this girl Jenny's house, and for her and the other Ukraine people, they feel it'll be a nice gesture to buy her a gift since they are letting her, like, party at her house and stuff. So that's where all the money come from, because they wanted to buy her a gift. And Aaron's just like, oh. Now, one of the cool things about Erin is that she keeps a diary. And for her, it's very, very, very private. But her cousin Olaf feels like in the first episode, her diary is everybody's business to know, and especially her. So she constantly is reading her diary, but she's reading it out loud, especially when Aaron is asleep. And this pisses Aaron off so much in the first episode, to the point of 3 times she tries to kill her and everything. Now, when it comes to the actress who plays Aaron, her style of comedy is very expression, like facial expressions. Like, have you ever watched that movie called Bean, or a TV show called Mr. Bean? And the actor with all his like facial expression, she does that. And so that's her style of like comedy, is like over the top, like exaggerated, like facial expressions. Her cousin Ola has rocks for brains. Ola is literally mentally inept. Like, not like for real mentally inept, but the girl is plumb stupid. Like, try to do this. Combine Cosmo from Fairly Odd Parents, Patrick Starr from SpongeBob, Dee Dee from Dexter's Lab, and you have Ola. Ola is she's a girl who has a few words, but when she does talk, it's just like, what the world are you talking about? And it's always hilarious. And the thing about her is that she loves to burn things with a lighter. When she walks and runs, she holds her hands out like they're like wings, and like she's running like she's flying. And she loves chocolate. She can eat a whole lot without getting sick. And so it's like she just always has something weird and strange to say. So her style of comedy is, of course, being the dumb one. And like, my God, she's hilarious. In the last episode of the first season, it's like a talent show, and she decides she's gonna dance. And her dance is so strange and bizarre that everybody in the audience is laughing at her. And so Erin decides, you know what, you ain't gonna make fun of my cousin. So she goes up there with the rest of the group, and they all start dancing silly to like to give support to Olaf. And it's like, no matter how many times Erin wants to like kill Olaf from like the diary thing, she has her cousin's back, And you really don't never see her make fun of her, like, because of how dumb she is and stuff. So that's great. Claire is the most religious one out of all of them, because they all go to like a Catholic school. And Claire is the one who spazzes out the most. She's the goody two-shoes of the group. She will rat them out. She is constantly freaking out, and she's an overachiever. She cares a lot about her grades in school, and she hates the idea of getting in trouble. To the point of getting in trouble, she freaks out. She's constantly spazzing out. And so it's like, and she's like hyperventilating. Sometimes when she had to study for an exam, she had 20 something things of like those energy drinks, and her hands shaking. And whenever she's upset, she's always quoting something from the Bible. And she does it in like a very, very loud, spazzy kind of way, like, oh, sweet Jesus, mother of God. Like, I can't believe this is happening. Like that. And it's like, she's always frantic and stuff. And there's one episode when Michelle steals like a poster board thing with all these like unemployment banners. She is kind of like, crap, what's gonna happen when we get in trouble? She couldn't wait. She went and ratted Michelle out, which got them all in trouble. Like, she just can't take it. Now, back to that pen of hers that I said before. When people are always fanning over boys, she doesn't really seem all that interested. I didn't pick this up at first until the last episode. In the last episode, when Aaron takes control of this newspaper type thing at the school, there is like um this kind of like anonymous thing that somebody wrote in. I think like to one of like them counselor type people talking about how they're a lesbian. Nobody knows who it is. Michelle is constantly making fun of everybody, thinking that it could be one of them. And I think people assume it might be Aaron or something like that. I can't remember why. And so then Claire decides to confess to Aaron it's her. Like she's a lesbian and everything. She's always been attracted to girls. Aaron does not like this. Aaron is disgusted by this. And you have to admit why. This isn't modern day. This is back in the late 90s and stuff. And it's also in Ireland. In European countries, if you thought being gay was bad in America, whew, you seen nothing until you see European countries, man, especially England. Like, watch the show, To Call a Midwife season 1 and season probably 3 or 4, I believe. You will not believe some of the things that make these people do when they find out they're gay. And the torture of them and all, and the drugs and stuff. So anyway, so Claire is upset that Aaron is pissed off at her because those two are like best friends and stuff. And so they go throughout the whole episode and and then of course when Michelle finds out, she's making fun of her, of course. And then so when we get to the end of the episode, when Ola is supposed to like dance and stuff, I forget what happens, but somebody's talking about the anonymous lesbian thing. And so they found, and then I think Claire decides she's just gonna tell everybody it's her because she don't care. I think that's what happens. And so everybody at the school is making fun of her because it's an all-girl school. And so when Ola's doing her dancing thing, Erin decides to stand up and support her friend. Now, I'm not going to use the phrase that she does because it's a slur. It starts with a D. So I'll just I'll just say the word lesbian. And Erin stands up. And Erin's all like, yeah, she's a lesbian, but she's my lesbian. And so that just makes Claire so happy that her friend has now finally understood her and doesn't hate her no more and will support her. So then they all go up and they dance with Ola and stuff. Michelle, my God, this girl is a firecracker. She is the mouthy one of the group. She is the bad girl of the group. She is the tough girl of the group. When we first get introduced to her in the first episode, we don't even see her. All we hear her voice saying, welcome MFers. I'm not gonna say what that is too because not sure what my channel is labeled as. So yeah, she's constantly saying that word like mother effer, and like she's constantly that's her favorite word. She says it throughout the entire season and stuff. And so she is the one who is an opportunist. She is, like I said, the mean girl of the group. She is like so her comedy is more like crude, mean humor. And so she is constantly making fun of everybody, constantly threatening people, but she don't threaten her group. But she is constantly making fun of people, especially her cousin James, pinning him for a little bit later. And so like I said in the first episode, she wanted to sit in the back of the bus, but there's some first years there. So she literally tells them, get up, like, and cusses them out. And the girls are like, oh, we're not going nowhere. And then she's all like, well, I'll beat you up if you don't move. And the girls are like, oh yeah, do it. Now, Michelle is the type of person that she will try to punk you. But if you punk her back and punk her out, she will submit because she will get like scared, cowardly. Like she's the tough girl who's also a little bit of the fraidy cat. And when she gets in trouble with, like, say, her mom, then it's all whole mommy, I can explain. Like she tries to play like the good girl angle and stuff. So with her, she loves to drink. She loves to smoke cigarettes. She loves thinking how sexy she is, and she loves boys and talking about like getting laid and stuff. And so even when she be like in church or the Catholic school, she's constantly cussing and everything. And so in the second episode, it was an episode where they wanted to go to Paris on like a school trip, but none of them had like the money. So they didn't have a trust fund either. And so they decided they're gonna work. And when they decided they was gonna work, there was a bunch of like, unemployment things on a banner on a board. Michelle decides she's gonna steal the entire board from the restaurant, a restaurant they constantly go to and that they love to death. And so she figured, hey, if nobody sees that there are these jobs available, then it can just all be for them. Like that's when Claire ratted her out and stuff. Like she's that type of person, you know. Then so like in that same episode, the lady who works at the restaurant place, she likes them and everything because they're one of her best customers, but she don't care. When you screw with her, you don't screw with her. And so what happened was when Claire ratted them out, the lady's all like, look, I won't ban y'all, but y'all gotta work for y'all the money you owe me for stealing, and that's to punish you and stuff. So I put a pin in that for a little bit later. So anyway, at some point after they're all cleaning, Michelle decides she's done cleaning because the restaurant above that is like an apartment. The lady who owns the place. And so she goes up in that lady's place. She's having a bunch of drinks, and then she's like, "Hey, look what I'm about to do." She like sets it on fire, like the drinks, and she's all like, and then she's like, MFers and everything. And the next thing you know, she trips. And then the whole like apartment curtain, the curtain in the apartment sets on fire. Some on the floor too. Now, like I said, I'll put a pin in that later because it's a pretty hilarious episode. But she's literally that type of person and stuff. James, her cousin James. Lord, I feel so sorry for this dude. He constantly is getting mocked by everybody in the group and everybody in Derry. James has an Irish mother, and his mother is the sister of Michelle's mom. But James' mom wanted to have an abortion, and it was him. So she went to England, but she decided not to have an abortion. So he got born over there, and they lived there for a while. So he has a British accent. Well, his mom is going through a divorce, so they moved back in with Michelle's mom and stuff. But James' mom decided, you know what? I'm just gonna leave you here, and so she leaves him there to literally live with Michelle and everybody. Then we find out in the second season, his mom literally just abandons him, and doesn't want nothing to do with him no more. I'll get into that some other time when I get into season 2. So, he is constantly getting mocked by Michelle. Michelle cannot stand him because he is British, and Michelle does not like the British. And so, he is literally the butt of every joke in this season. He is the only guy going to an all-girl Catholic school. The reason for that is because he is British, they're afraid he'll get beat up at an all-boys school. So they send him to an all-girl school. When he first goes there, the girl Jenny, who I'll put a pin in for later, she thinks he's a girl because it's curly hair and it's an all-girl school and stuff. Oh, like I said, like whenever he's talking to people, they're like, "We don't understand you, James. You're not talking English." And he's like, "I am talking English." They're like, "Yes, but you're talking British English and stuff." And like I said before, they're always making fun of him. Now, he does get to the point where he will defend. Like, he takes it too. He takes all their, like, bad-mouthing. But there are times when he will defend himself. And when he lets out his anger, he lets it out. And then when he lets it out, they're all like, they're just like, "Why are you acting so crazy? See, I told you there's savages over there in England." And so I think there might be a little bit of a shipping between him and Aaron in season 2. I can't remember. It's been a while since I watched season 2. And then so in season 1, like I said before, he was supposed to get laid by the Ukrainian girl. And that really upset Aaron because she just didn't want him to like go down that path, even though she likes other guys and stuff. And so with James, he tries to be a cool kid at one point in time. Like he tries to change his hair and messes it all up. But for the most part, he is a pretty nice guy. But his comedy is more like the dopey guy type comedy and stuff. Now, that episode when they were trying to raise money to go to Paris, they were like cleaning. And then they noticed the more they clean, the more dirty the restaurant got. And so, like, he doesn't understand why everything's, well, Aaron doesn't understand why everything's so sticky. And then they realized something. James had been having them clean the window with mayonnaise. Because he thought it was like Windex. But they call it Wendeley over there. But yeah, he thought he had Windex, but he had mayonnaise and he's just scrubbing the windows and stuff. And Erin, she's like, oh, isn't this swell? And everything. And she's like, great job, everybody. And everything. Like, she just has like a complete spaz raging moment and stuff. But for the most part, James is a good dude. He just always getting dumped on. Now, there are other characters in the show, like Jenny. She is the goody-goody two-shoes prefect who goes to the Catholic school. She's the one who thinks she's better than everybody. She always wants to rat people out whenever they're doing wrong. She has a really nice house. And whenever she wants to do something that she doesn't have the money for, she dips into her trust fund. Sister Michaels is the head mistress at the Catholic school, which they all go to. She is the most blunt, rudest nun I have ever seen. She literally just doesn't care. She hates the French. She doesn't like being around these kids. She tells them if you have any like emotional problems and everything, do not come to her. She is always sending the gang I told you about to detention and everything because they're always doing stuff. And it's even to the point when she walked in, they had detention. Like in the first episode I reviewed, she walks in. The other nun lady is dead, and Olaf's playing with her head. Michelle is like stealing from her purse. Aaron's trying to like escape from like the detention room out the window. James is like peeing in the corner, and Claire's like eating the lady's sandwich. And so she's all like, I might have to have y'all investigated by the police and everything. So she is the one who's just like, she has the dry humor wit of the show. Now, Aaron's parents. Mary's the mom, Jerry's the dad. Jerry is like the dopey one, and Aaron's mom is the strict, stern one. And when Aaron wanted to like wear a jean jacket to be a rebel at school, her mom literally said, "Give me that wooden spoon," because she was about to beat Aaron and stuff. And so that's like who her mom is. And she also got rid of Aaron's dog and staged like a fake death and stuff. Aaron's grandpa Joe is hilarious. He does not like Jerry whatsoever. He literally tells him, stay away from my daughter and find your own one and stuff. And so like with him, he's very sarcastic. He's very rude. He thinks James is gay. When the girls and James get in trouble for the whole death of the nun thing, he walks in and he's all like, say nothing, girls, until you have a lawyer. So he's like the crude one of like the family. Olaf's mom, she's just like Olaf. She's really stupid. Well, that's all I can just say about her. She's just really dumb, and she lives with Aaron's mom and all them. And so yeah, so that's basically like all the characters in the show. Now that one episode 3, the one where they episode 2, my bad, episode 2, when they want to go to Paris. So anyway, the choir at the Catholic school, they want to go to Paris. The gang doesn't have the money. Jenny tells them just take a little bit out the trust fund, and the kids are all like, do we even have a trust fund? So then they go to their parents. They realize they don't even have a trust fund. That's how poor they are and stuff. But lots of people don't have a trust fund. I don't. And so like they're trying to figure out a way to go to Paris, but they're like, hey, maybe we can get a job and everything. So then they see that bulletin board that Michelle steals, and then when Claire rats them out, they now have to work off their service to the lady who owns the restaurant. Now they love going to that restaurant. They love it. Their family loves it. They constantly go there. James doesn't like it. He's explaining why he doesn't like it. He said the food is too greasy, and he says it out loud because they piss him off. Olaf's like putting her hand on her ears because she don't want to hear it. Everybody else is like, what's wrong with you? And he's like, I tell you what's wrong with him. He's British. Of course, that's Michelle. This pisses off the lady who works there. She tells him to get out and everything. Later on at night, like I said before, Michelle steals the bulletin board. Claire rats her out. And the lady's all like, look, I promise not to ban all of y'all or suspend all of y'all. Um, but you gotta work off your debt for stealing from me. Because she has to set an example and everything. So she wants them to like clean her restaurant because it's pretty filthy and stuff. And so they all like, well, what if we don't do that? She's like, oh, well, you can stop coming to my restaurant and you can start ordering pizza. And Olaf's is like, well, pizza's not as nice. And so yeah, then they start cleaning her restaurant. And as they're cleaning her restaurant, they realized, like I said before, that they made a bigger mess than they did cleaning because I don't. They just somehow all the trash just ended up back on the floor somehow, but worse than before. And James was using mayonnaise to clean the windows instead of Windex. And so Michelle's like, screw it, I'm not like doing this no more. And she goes to that lady's apartment, and that's when she's drinking, and she sets the drinks on fire, and then she trips, and then the fire goes everywhere and it sets the curtain on fire. And so they're all like, crap, dude, how are we gonna get ourselves out of this? Well, then they start hearing voices. It's Mary and Olaf's mom. And they're all like, what have you kids done? And and so they literally don't know how they're gonna like do this before the lady gets back in town and stuff, but she's coming back early. And they hear her voice come back early. They're like, crap, like, what are we gonna do? So Olaf's mom has a theory. No, somebody has a theory. Because see, what happened in their town is people are getting robbed. And people are being tied up to their houses as they're being robbed. And so Aaron's mom, Mary, is just kind of like, So Mary and Olaf's mom, they stage it to where they tie the kids up to that woman's like apartment. And Aaron's all like, this is inhumane and everything. It's like, well, you have a better idea? So then they start hearing the lady who owns the apartment, who owns the restaurant, voice. So Mary and Olaf's mom, they're like, hey, let's go out the back door. And so the lady comes into play. She's like, oh my God, like, what the is going on here? And then she's like, you were robbed, and they just came in and all this other stuff. And the woman is just like, she's almost to the point where she's about to believe it. Until she hears the voice of Mary and Olaf's mom, and she hears what's going on. They couldn't find a way out the apartment. When the lady sees this, it cuts to Uncle Joe at the dinner table talking about, this just isn't as good. And it takes a wide shot. It's the pizza they ordered. They don't like pizza. They had now been permanently banned from that lady's restaurant. Now, there's a really intriguing episode in episode 5 where the show doesn't even really focus on the teen kids. It focuses on the adults. But the teen kids are still in that episode. They just don't really do or say much. They pretty much all got like one line, and that's about it. And the episode starts off where Aaron's family are like packing up. They're getting ready to head out of town. I believe they want to cross the border or something like that because there's supposed to be like a parade festival type thing in Derry. And they know for a fact on this certain parade it's going to cause a bunch of riots and a lot of violence and stuff because the troubles isn't over yet. And so they're packing up as fast as they can. And then, of course, the gang shows up. First, it's Claire with a book of Moby Dick. She's freaking out because she's afraid of getting attacked. And so they're like, okay, fine, you can come. And then James and Michelle come in with Michelle's mom. And she's all like, look, her and her husband has like a double shift. They're going to be up all night. And they can't watch the kids. And they want to know if you can take them with them. And then she's all like, do you not want to take James? Is it because of the English thing? Or is it because of the gay thing? And he's all like, I'm not gay. And then so like Mary, Aaron's mom, is all like, well, it's not the English thing because the gay thing kind of cancels us out. And James is like, once again, not gay. And everything. Oh, poor James. But then, yeah, they agree to take all the kids. And so before they can head out, someone noticed that there's graffiti on their wall of their house on the outside. and they're trying to determine what exactly it is. It looks like two spatulas to Olaf's mom, but in fact, it's like two rifles and stuff. For the most part, this is mostly like a Jerry episode where he gets dumped on and he gets frustrated and all this other stuff. So it's really interesting to see the adult cast get some like time because they are comedians in their own right and stuff and very famous. So after they divide the cars up, they take two cars and they drive off. Um, Wherever they're gonna go, they have tents. I guess they're gonna sleep outside or something like that. But I do remember hearing them say something about crossing the border. So I don't know nothing about about Ireland and what's all around it. I had to look at a map, but yeah, they're going somewhere. And so as they're like driving and stuff, for the most part, like I said, the kids don't really say too much. Um, what is it? Mary is like freaking out and talking about we have to go back because something about like she forgot or something. She forgot something. I don't know what that something is. And then Grandpa Joe is just being Grandpa Joe the entire time on the ride. Like every time he passes some people at the festival, I don't know who they are, but he calls them the Orange Men. And they're wearing like these outfits that are kind of like orange or with the orange slash or something like that. And so for some reason he doesn't like them. I don't know who it is. I'll probably look that up a little bit later. And so like they all stop on the side of the road. And so when they do, Grandpa Joe, he's giving it to Jerry, talking about how you're not a man and all this other stuff and you can't drive and why we stop and all this other crap. And so I forget why. I think he heard noise in the trunk or some crap like that. Or they forgot something and he had to go look for something in the trunk. So he opens the trunk. Everybody is gasping. They can't believe what's inside the trunk. It's a grown man. And he's just in the trunk and they just are like, who are you? And everything. Now, before I go into this, Olaf's mom, she's pretending to be like a fortune teller and tells Michelle, you're going to find your one true love on like a road trip or something like that. And y'all going to end up married, blah, blah, blah. So Michelle thinks this is destiny and he's her one true love. But yeah, the dude's just like in the trunk, just like chilling out. And then he's all like, oh, well, if that's all good with you, then he tries to close the trunk. And they're like, no, you ain't staying in there. He's all like, and they want to know why he's in there. I think he said something about he heard them about crossing the border and wanting to go over with them. And they all like, no, we can't do that. It's kind of like illegal and everything. And so at some point they stop at like a diner and they're trying to determine like what to do with this dude. And of course, Erin, she's kind of like, this dude could be like a killer or something like that. And so they're all at the restaurant and there's a waitress and she's being really rude to everyone. And she's being rude to Jerry and then she's not really getting his order right and stuff like that. And so it's pretty much just them in the diner the entire time, just like talking about. And then so at one point in time, Grandpa Joe tells Jerry to stand up to this waitress and tell him like, be a man and she got your order wrong. And so he kind of like gives it to her a little bit and points that out, but he's not really like in a rude way. She busts out in tears somehow how she's going through a lot. And now Jerry's upset, like you all made me do this and now y'all making me look like the bad guy and stuff. So at one point in time, the stranger dude, he goes inside like the restroom and he's there for a good while and he comes out. And Erin being the one she is, she's freaking out. Now, this whole time, Claire's just reading Moby Dick and she's not saying nothing. James and Michelle, they're not saying much. Olaf says something stupid at one point in time, but like I said, everybody only, like the teens only get like one thing to say. And so the dude comes out the bathroom, he's all like, I forgot what he says, but he puts his hand in his coat pocket and he's all like, I didn't want it to come to this. And Erin is all like, Jesus Christ. And then she goes completely under the table because she thinks he has like a gun. And she's all like, it's a gun, it's a bomb. But it's nothing. And it's just like, people are just looking at her and stuff like she's crazy. At some point in time, Jerry goes into the bathroom and he sees something on the wall. It's a giant like painting of the two rifle things that's on outside of his house. And he touches the paint and it's really wet, so it's fresh. So he knows exactly who wrote that crap on his house. It's the dude from the trunk. And then so he comes out and he's all like, it's you the one who wrote that stuff on the wall. See what it is that the guy, I guess, is like a rebel or whatever. And for some bizarre reason, he's been inside their trunk for like a long time and wrote that on their like house. And he's trying to get back over the border and stuff. And so like they pretty much just kick him out and everything. And he's outside. And so they're all still talking. And then James looks outside and he noticed something. The dude went back inside Mary and Jerry's trunk, got their tents, and then as somebody else was about to leave, like they was trying to close their trunk, but it kept popping open, and then he runs really fast as the car is taking off, and he hops inside this other man's trunk and drives off. And then they're all like, we knew we shouldn't have put James in charge of like watching the tents, and then it ends and everything. And it's just like, it was a strange, bizarre episode. But then, of course, the next episode, episode 6, there's something I like to point out. When the kids were doing their dance for Olaf, the parents were home watching the news. And from what I can remember, it seems that the whole Troubles thing was starting to end. And the parents are just there staring at TV looking in awe because they couldn't like believe it, because they lived through a good chunk of their lives and stuff, and it was finally starting to wind down and end. So, and I really didn't know how to like grasp that or like realize that, because I didn't know what was really going on, because I didn't bother to look it up at that time. But like, yeah, man, it was like a big moment for them. So yes, this show is insanely hilarious. It's very well written. It's very well directed. It does get a little bit hard to like understand what they're saying at times because they have thick Irish accents, and if you're not used to that, then it's just kind of like, heh. And so you kind of got to turn the volume up and listen really carefully, especially when like they talk really fast and stuff. And but it's just a cool show. Now sometimes they use terms I'm not familiar with, so I'm learning. It's kind of like watching a Harry Potter movie and you're hearing all these British terms for the first time, and it's all this slang. It's like I don't even know what that is, but you quickly learn and stuff. Like when they say this is class, that means this is like awesome. This is balls, basically mean this is crap, and stuff like that. So I highly recommend watching this show on Netflix or wherever you can find it, because it is hilarious. Alrighty, well, I'll talk to y'all later. Bye.